Good morning. This is Rob Bowron with Sharp College Football. Excited to be here today on Saturday 6. It'll be the third time we're doing this show. We're excited for week 3. Because I have screwed something up here. Oh yeah. There we go. Apologies as I figured this out. Not enough coffee yet this morning. Anyway, we're excited for week 3. We managed to only have a handful of games canceled, one of which we were going to cover. We were going to cover the Baylor Houston game, but we've subbed back in to bring in Tulsa and Oklahoma State. But this should be an interesting week. I think some things to watch out. There's some reports out there that Miami has some players that are going to be out due to COVID, whether it be from contact tracing or from testing positive as they make the trip up to Louisville. Still mostly, the SEC hasn't started playing yet. That's next weekend. So this is primarily, we're going to end up covering some ACC teams, some Big 12 teams playing, and then, our group of 5 spotlight game as we get to the end there. I'll try not to drink too much coffee during this, but, as needed. Medicate as needed. So, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm excited to cover some of these games here today. We're going to cover some games that are not particularly close because there's some exciting teams that are going to start playing this week that I want to see. And I want to get through some of their numbers. But there are some really close games we're going to cover as well that should be fun. So our first game, Tulsa at Oklahoma. This game is not going to be, should not be in a lot of ways super close. So Tulsa comes in right now in the model at number 78 overall. Oklahoma State's at number 14. Tulsa's actually up from 80 to 78 as we've allowed a little bit of the weight of the games in. But the Cowboys come in a pretty heavy favorite in this game. Mike Gundy's the head coach of the Cowboys. Phil Montgomery's the head coach of Tulsa. The offense for Oklahoma State really ended up in a bit of a ditch last season with their offense with Sean Gleason running things. They're looking, I think, to get a little bit back to where they were. So they're having Casey Dunn take over. He's their long-serving wide receiver coach. He was one of the finalists along with Gleason for the offensive coordinator job last time around. He wins it this time. I expect them to, even though they have Hubbard, to try to pass a little more. They're going to have to up the passing game. They were only at 77 in effective pass last season. That's really not going to get it done for them. Unless they want to really lean in and try to be as effective running the ball as they are sort of the Ohio States of the world, which isn't likely given how things worked out. But their main number that they really have to pick up when you look here is their drive efficiency number there at number 69, and their effective rush at number 14. I'm sorry, their negative drives at number 40. I think that they're still going to run the ball effectively. Look for them to try to throw the ball a little more coming into this game. And to see where the offense shakes out. That's why I think this game in particular is interesting, is I want to see what Oklahoma State's offense looks like under Dunn. Tulsa's defense was far better than their offense last season. We have them projected at 71. We have the Oklahoma State's offense projected at 21 coming into this year. Tulsa's defense is led by Joseph Gillespie. They were the better unit last season than the offense. Pretty good group of 5 defense. If they can maintain some of this, should be a reasonable challenge for Oklahoma State. The trouble where we might not quite see everything that the Oklahoma State offense is going to be differently is they really struggled defending the run last season versus the pass, so they'll have some work to do there. On the other side of the ball, it's the number 77 Tulsa offense that we project, led by Phil Montgomery. He's the play caller. Against the number 24 Oklahoma State defense is the projection. We're really projecting Oklahoma State to take a step forward because of everything that they bring back. Jim Knowles is the defensive coordinator. They just have a ton coming back on this side of the ball. They've been needing to take a step forward here, for a while. This really has to be the year that they do it with all the returning production that they have. So Tulsa's offense also really needs to take a step forward. Montgomery was hired as an offensive coach. They were pretty good at drive efficiency last year. They need to be a lot more explosive and a lot more efficient in their play, their play efficiency. Not too many 3 and outs in the negative drives. Oklahoma State really should be, a huge favorite in this game. 95% win probability at home. A little more than a 21-point favorite in the model right now. So let's hop over to the next one as we roll along. That little move on and that ticker is useful. So we've got Syracuse at Pitt. We've got number 88 Syracuse at number 56 Pitt. In a lot of ways, there's really only one good unit that we project on these two teams. So Dino Babers leads Syracuse. They struggled last week against North Carolina, really on both sides of the ball. Pitt with Pat Narduzzi comes in. They're Pitt's offense. We have Pitt's offense projected to take a pretty big step forward, but only to number 84 overall. So this number these are 2019 numbers that you see here still on the actual individual offensive cards and defensive cards. But Pitt's offense, under new OC Mark Whipple, who's had a very not charmed career of late. They really do have, this offense really has to take a step forward for Pitt to, I think, start to, level out and get better in the ACC. They've had a good defense. They were decent throwing the ball last season at number 63 in effective pass. Really, really struggled to run the ball. 122 in effective rush. They're going to have their work. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily going to have their work cut out for them. I mean, this Syracuse matchup should be nice. They also are at 84 right now. Tony White's their new DC. They were able to contain North Carolina's run game a little bit last week. And North Carolina really struggled with the blitzes from the multiple areas that Syracuse is sending them. So that's something to watch out for in this game as well, because that 3-3-5 defense from Rocky Long that Syracuse is now running, they can send lots of blitzers from lots of different places, and the offensive line for North Carolina really struggled with the looks that they were getting from Syracuse. On the other side of the ball, this is going to be a tough matchup for Syracuse. Their offense is at 89 in the projection. Sterling Gilbert's their OC. I also wouldn't be surprised if Babers, isn't inserting himself more into the offense, giving his offensive experience. But I mean, the Pitt defense is really the one really good unit that we have coming into this season. We project them; they're sitting at 30 right now. Randy Bates is their defensive coordinator. What they really did well last year was not giving up big plays. Number 13 in explosive drives. Syracuse is a little better. Where they were good was in the drive efficiency, putting together long drives when they did put up points, but they really have to figure something out offensively. They haven't been good on the offensive side of the ball really in Babers' entire tenure in Syracuse. So if he's gonna get it going again, I mean the 1 year that he really had a team going, that was a defensive first team. I mean, people think that Syracuse offense is really going, but it wasn't. It was the defense. The offense really hasn't gotten it going up there. This really has to be, the year that Babers, I think, or Gilbert's got to go, and they've got to find someone else, because they're not going to be able to take a step forward in the ACC with the defense really kind of where they're at, and the offense really still struggling to get it going. So, and again, moving on, the beta rank has this as Pitt with an 80% win probability, almost 10 points, 9.95 point favorite in the projection model coming in. Under our third game, here we've got 66 USF at number 12 Notre Dame. Both these teams actually won last week, and looked fair. I mean, Notre Dame maybe didn't blow Duke out of the water, but you almost feel like they ground them down and won as effectively maybe as we were expecting. So, Notre Dame led by Brian Kelly, South Florida led by, new head coach Jeff Scott coming in. The Notre Dame offense right now, we have them projected at number 16, with some in-season data. It's mostly projection still. Tommy Rees is your offensive coordinator there. The Irish offense really does have to be a little bit more of the engine of what they're doing. They need to get into the top 10, I think, for Notre Dame to start to achieve some of what their goals are. Where they really excelled last season, and these are last season numbers again that you see here, was that they were at number 7 in play efficiency. Really a good yards per play, controlling for opponent, and play field position. But they weren't great at running the ball. They weren't great at throwing the ball. They just they were good, but not in any way a great offense. They get a Bulls defense that's pretty, I mean, for by group of 5 standards, isn't bad. Number 60 on defense and beta rank last season. We have them projected out at number 59 right now. They're led by Glenn Spencer, who's got some experience, including at Oklahoma State. Where they were really good last season was actually in their play efficiency number, like in limiting the yards per play, controlling for opponent. They've really got their work cut out for them. They need to cut down on that drive efficiency number, give up fewer long drives. That would be a really big thing for them. But they had a huge split last season, 24 in effective pass, 94 in effective rush. I mean, really, they're going to have to get better defending the run, I think, for them to take a step forward next year, this year for them. On the other side of the ball, this is not I mean, in some ways, like I think what makes this matchup interesting here is actually Scott, and his offensive mind. And I thought he made some good hires. I mean, getting Glenn Spencer and Charlie Weiss Jr., he basically hired Lane Kiffin's OC and DC from FAU, and brought them over, to USF, and they'd done a really good job at FAU. So in some ways this should be, I mean, there should be at least a moment or two. I mean, it's on USA Network, for crying out loud. I mean, talk about all sports all at once. They're going to be on some odd channels, but Notre Dame football on USA Network. So Charlie Weiss Jr., they ran the ball. I would throw this out a little bit. They ran the ball really well last week against the Citadel. They didn't have to lean in and throw the ball very much. I'm interested to see if that holds up this week. They're going to have to throw the ball more because they're likely going to be a bit behind. How does that passing game work for them coming into this season? The Notre Dame defense has been pretty good under Clark Lee. They've definitely held up a little more of their end of the bargain than the offense has under Kelly of late. We expect them to be good. We have them projected at where they were last year, number 11. The offense for USF is at 109 right now. So it's not. This isn't a huge interesting matchup on this side of the ball. I am interested to see where this USF offense starts to shake out when they're not playing against an FCS team. So Notre Dame, huge favorite here, 95% win probability, 21 points in the model currently. All right, UCF and Georgia Tech. This one is going to be a different big favorite. In fact, the Group of 5 team is actually the favorite in this game. Not by a lot, but enough. And it should be an interesting matchup because there's the possibility that Georgia Tech, might really beat out their projection. Depending on, I mean, we get to see how much of that was FSU really not being particularly good, or maybe Georgia Tech being better than we expected. In comes, UCF led by Josh Heupel, Georgia Tech led by Jeff Collins, the number 13 UCF offense led by Heupel. He has the play calling duties. The number 77 is where we project the defense right now for Georgia Tech. It's mostly projection led by Andrew Thacker. They were decent last week against Florida State. Really, Florida State also, shot themselves in the foot quite a bit as well. But the offense last season for UCF, which was excellent. I mean, just terrific drive efficiency and explosive drives, great at play efficiency. Their run real watch out was the negative drives, just too many 3-and-outs and turnovers. That's something certainly that they could work on. But fairly balanced as well. Pretty good running the ball, pretty good throwing the ball. I expect them to have a pretty good day here, because even though we project this Georgia Tech defense to take a pretty big step forward from where they were with what you see with this number from last season, they really struggled last year. Number 93, is their best number, and that's a bad number in drive efficiency. We're still projecting them to be a very bad Power 5 defense. They really struggled against the run. It'll be interesting to see, if Florida State's offensive line was really their problem last year. If UCF, doesn't have that problem, is able to come in and run the ball, I expect them to stick to it in this game. On the other side of the ball, the Georgia Tech offense also really has struggled, switching over out of the Paul Johnson offense. We project them to take a huge step forward to number 66 overall. They're led by Dave Paternaud. They have some. Well, they don't have any great numbers, but that 74 in play efficiency is okay. They were unsurprisingly better at running the ball last season than they were at throwing the ball. Keep an eye on how they might, continue to shift into more of a modern offense. Sorry. maybe not modern, a non-triple option offense. As keep an eye on that effective pass number. The defense for UCF, I really like. I'm excited to see where they are. We have them at number 25 this year. They're led by Randy Shannon. They bring a lot back. This could be a big year for that defense. They did have one big opt-out at corner that I think will potentially hold them back a little bit. But I'm really excited to see this defense this year. If they can pick up that drive efficiency number in particular, the rest of their numbers were solid. So giving up fewer long drives would be really helpful for them. I think that they have a chance to have a big game here. They have a 74% win probability, just over a 7-point favorite in the model coming into this game. This is sort of the headline game. Miami at Louisville, very tight in the model. Louisville gets a bump off of where they were last week, at up to number 42. Miami gets a slight bump too, up to number 44, for their performance. It was really interesting, I think, to see, these two teams. So this Louisville offense was really the engine of what they were doing last year. They're at number 26 where we have them this year. Scott Satterfield's the play caller, I believe. It's hard to sort of tell. I believe he is the play caller though. Really, he brought that, really effective ground game from App State with them. They were at number 16 in effective rush. They are going to have, Miami struggled a little bit against the run last year, even though the defense wasn't bad, led by Blake Baker. We have that defense right now at number 29. They're going to get tested on their ability to stop the run. So that's absolutely something to keep an eye on, because Louisville is a team designed to run the football effectively. And put up big plays. When you look at it, they weren't a hugely effective offense when it came to drive efficiency last year at number 55. They didn't put together a lot of long drives. They put together a lot more of their points off big plays. For, this Miami defense, they excelled at forcing 3 and outs. They struggled a little bit of drive efficiency themselves at number 66. So it's something to keep an eye on there. I'm interested to see if Miami has really shored up their run defense enough to handle the load that Louisville's going to try to bring in, in the running game. The other side of the football, this is interesting because I think we thought Miami looked really good in week 1, with their retooled offense, and really looked very different in a lot of ways than maybe even I was expecting. I was expecting Lashley to maybe have a little bit more influence from his time with Sonny Dykes there as a play caller at SMU. Did not. He looked a lot more like somebody that had come up, spent some time with Gus Malzahn. Really was much more effective running the football. King is a really effective runner if you're willing to use him that way, and Miami certainly was. And that opens up a lot of their game. King, and I saw him play live, in Houston. King likes to show off his arm and take some deep shots. This offense is going to give him that opportunity. They are going to run the ball effectively and then hope to set up some deep passes down the field to some of the athletes that they have. King has a solid arm. He's not always, it's tough to be super, most quarterbacks aren't super accurate 30 yards down the field. King is not super accurate 30 yards down the field. So this Louisville defense under Brian Brown, they do have some work to do still to get to where they need to be. They really struggled last season and in some ways held them back from where I think that they wanted to be. But there is going to be considerable work still to do here. We have them at number 90. Right now, that is a slight improvement over where they were. Where they really have to pick it up is against the run. Oh boy. If they still don't have it, and they mostly were up against a passing offense. Oh, the internet dropped. My apologies if you're watching on the stream. So, the trouble I think for Louisville here is if Miami really does show up with the intention of running the ball, they could potentially be in trouble here because we will get to see they did not get tested against Western Kentucky. With much in the way of a running game. It'll be interesting to see if Louisville is able to slow down this Miami rushing attack, because that really was their weakness last year. This one's close. Louisville's got a 61% win probability at home and about a 3.5 point favorite in beta rank. So then our group of 5 focus this week, 34 App State at number 90 Marshall. This game's on CBS. With the SEC out, they get some pretty marquee treatment here. App State we have projected coming into this year at number 34 right now with a little bit of in-season data. Marshall's at number 90. This App State offense was good last season, number 43 overall, really effective running the ball. They've got a new head coach, their third head coach in 3 years, in Sean Clark. Marshall's still led by Doc Holliday. The matchup here is of course going to be Marshall's defense has been pretty good under Holliday. He's put together some pretty good group of 5 defenses in his time, in West Virginia. I think that this game on this side of the ball is going to be decided by whether Marshall is in any way able to stop or slow down the running attack for App State. I'm not sanguine that they're going to be able to do that. I think this is I think App State, even with the coaching turnover, presents a real tough matchup. I think that App State's no guarantee to win the conference, this season, given how Louisiana's playing. But I still think that they definitely have the chops to go in and win at Marshall. But we'll see if Holliday's able to put together a good game plan and App State really doesn't have it. Offensively, this could be trouble. Because on the other side of the ball, Marshall looked. It's against an FCS team, so mileage may vary. They looked a lot more competent than they had in a while on the offensive side of the ball. So App State does have a good defense. This is led by. I have it written down. Dale Jones is their defensive coordinator. The Marshall offense, Tim Cramsey is the offensive coordinator. This could be a tough matchup for them. App State has a good defense. They were good against the run, good against the pass. Marshall really lit it up throwing the ball last season. Not in their last game. If that holds up, that'll be interesting to see, if that can sort of hold up, I guess you could say. There's a big difference in stepping up and playing App State versus playing an FCS team. Eastern Kentucky, I believe, just looked totally overmatched in that game. Really, there's a big difference. There's a really big difference between the divisions and the amount of resources that, group of 5 teams are able to throw at football than FCS teams. But if this effective pass number is significantly better than where they were last year, then this offense could be better than where they were last year, and this game could be a lot closer. We've got it right now. It's a 84% win probability for, App State on the road, roughly an 11.5 points in beta rank. We obviously like the Mountaineers here. It should be a fun game to watch, though, because I think that Sun Belt title race now with Louisiana winning on the road at Iowa State suddenly looks very, very. It was looking interesting anyway, and we felt like Louisiana was under-projected in the model coming into this year. It looks very interesting now. Any information we can sort of get on where App State is as we keep it. I'm keeping an eye on the Sun Belt race this year. I think will help us to understand. So I'm excited to see this game of both of these teams getting a little more of a test. So, hey, that's week 3. We did it. We made it through again. Congrats to us. I have a new audio interface. New-ish. I've had it about 2 weeks. It's got a beep out swear button on it that I am dying to use, but I don't have enough confidence that I without getting at least one more cup of coffee that I'm going to get the timing right and actually beep something out. I know, boys and their toys, but so I'm excited for this week. I think you should be excited. I think all of us are excited for college football anytime we get to see it. Given the internet drops yet again. I swear. So I think everybody's excited for this week. There are some good games out there to watch. The big bummer I think this week is not getting to see Baylor versus Houston. That really would have been a fun game. They'd put it together on a week's notice. There's not a lot of scouting that's going to go into that. So you might have gotten, basically what the teams like to do rather than, something specific lined up for those teams. But getting to see what, Houston, as they continue to progress under a head coach that we like, in particular, what he brings to the offensive side of the table, and Dana Holgerson, getting to watch him against Dave Aranda. What does Baylor's new offense look like? What do they look like given that they lose darn near everybody on the defensive side of the football? That would have been a lot of fun to see. I think, probably would have been, along with the Miami, Louisville game, the marquee matchup of the weekend. But this week should be a lot of fun. Next week, of course, is going to be even more fun because the SEC starting and we just get right out of the gate with conference play. I am absolutely excited to see, Auburn and Kentucky play. So, that's what we think you should keep an eye on. The games that we'll be keeping an eye on all the games, but the games that we'll be keeping an eye on at Sharp College Football. Let's go ahead and do some creds and wrap this up. We've done almost a half hour, which is about where I want to aim it, if you will, with the 3 minutes on each of the games. So, I'm Rob Bowron for Sharp College Football. You can find all the stats you saw and a lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. I tweet out from @BetaRankFB because I'm the dork that designed BetaRank. I also handle the tweets from @Sharp College Football. We have a new. I did some work actually studying. If you want to look at why the myth that tempo either wears out the opposing defense or tempo will wear out your defense. You often hear people say that you can't have a good defense. You can't have a good defense if you're running tempo. It'll just wear your own defense out. That's actually a total myth. And I cite, I go through some work that, people have done in the NFL on that data and also look at college football data to show that. We also have a Pac-12 podcast. You can find that at 12 Pack Radio on Twitter. Interesting news in the Pac-12 front. They're going to make a final decision on whether they're going to play on Thursday of this week. This coming Thursday. You can find all the back episodes of that at sharpcollegefootball.com/12 Pack Radio. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm excited to watch some football today, so have a great Saturday out there.